So that shiny new game just came out, Homeworld 3, and you want to know if it's worth your time, right? Well, let's take a look at the game for some first impressions. Keep in mind this is not a full review, this is a quick look at the game. I played the game for a little over 3 hours, so I'll show some footage of the game while describing it and giving a few thoughts on it. Alright, you have several ways to play this game. Here's the options. Campaign, create war games for solo or with friends, quick match online, create skirmish, create custom lobby, and browse lobbies. All I did while I played was the campaign. You can actually go back and play any campaign mission that you completed as well. For example, I played for 3 hours and then I looked in the campaign tab and I could replay any mission that I had previously done. I actually played the tutorial for about 45 minutes before I played the campaign though. I only did the basic tutorial, and after I finished that there was an option to begin the advanced tutorial, but I did not do that. There's something called experience preset in the settings to change settings and controls, but I just used the default one for this game. In the menu is also mods. I didn't really look at that tab and I did not create an account for it, but it is there if you care about it. One last thing is the content roadmap that's on the top right corner of the main menu. It shows you a lot of the upcoming updates for the game. I've never played or heard of these Homeworld games, so I haven't played the first 2 games. This is a first for me. Okay, on to the actual game now. I started a new campaign, but I did not change any settings. The difficulty defaulted to medium, so I just did that. One thing to note about this game is that the campaign follows a story. Before each mission, I got a cutscene following the story. There's a lot of cutscenes in this game, and the story is actually pretty intriguing. I actually clicked and watched History of the Homeworld, which is under the campaign. I'm bad at pronouncing names, so I'll skip over most of them. The history explains that there were people living on a planet who were divided. They fought each other for 1,000 years until someone named Rachel found something under the sands, a hyperspace core. Along with the core was a map to the true home of their people, which is a different planet entirely. Everyone stopped fighting and began making a mothership to bring all of their people back to their true home. Now this is where it gets interesting to me. Fast forward to the future, Karen, Rachel's descendant, volunteered to be bound, body and mind, to the mothership to become its navigator and fleet command. So she's physically connected to the ship and fleet and has complete control. She's basically an AI at that point. Well, the capabilities of one at least, while still being human. After that, they fought a war and were victorious, and they took back their homeworld. They found 2 more hyperspace cores and combined all 3 on one ship, which unlocked a hyperspace gate network for everyone to use. Karen was sent to an area of space known as the Anomaly. The hyperspace gates in that area were erratic and then went dark. The anomaly kept spreading as well. She went there to find the source and to stop it. She never returned. Now this is where the campaign truly begins. 20 years after that, you're Karen's protege, Imogen. This is her first time connected to the ship, I believe, as she seems new and nervous about everything. In game, you have a few tabs on the top left and right, but the ones that are important is the objective tab on the top left, so you know what to do, and the build research tab on the top right. The first few things that you do are just basics. Move the mothership and collect resources with a resource controller ship. Just click on the controller ship, then on the bottom right, click on resource. It will go and start collecting the nearest resources. When it runs out, it'll automatically go to the next resource. You can click on any of the ships and follow their perspective by using the correct keys on your keyboard. I find it immersive to do that actually. Next, I used the build and research tab on the top right to make some recon strike craft. As you progress through the missions, you'll unlock more and more types of ships to use. You always have to research them first before you can actually craft them though. Research and crafting both cost resources, which is why resource collectors are important to use constantly. With the recon strike craft, you shoot down some drones as training in the beginning. I simply selected all of my recon strike craft at once and then selected all enemies at once for them to attack. You can select a single ship and a single target, but I always just brute forced it while I played. You can even change the formations that your ships fly in, which do have some effect on your ships. I forgot what it said, maybe something about taking damage, but I always just selected all of my attack ships at once and attacked all of the enemies at once. It worked pretty well doing that honestly. After doing those little beginning tasks, there's a scene. An admiral comes on the screen to speak. There will be no comms with the home planet until the mission is complete. Several planets were attacked and destroyed, and the anomaly began spreading again. When Karen disappeared 20 years earlier, it had stopped spreading. The first mission is to access a facility to get a prototype production module. That's also where the anomaly seems to be going to, so they have to go there fast. At this point, I'm going to stop bringing up the story, but trust me, if you're already interested in the story, it gets more interesting. I'll be skipping over several missions here as well as I take a look at the gameplay only now. I unlocked several different types of ships. Most of the ships that you unlock are for attacking, but also there were some probes and supply ships that heal any ship that you tell them to. For each ship, you can set their default status as passive, neutral, or aggressive on the bottom left after clicking on one of the ships. And I usually selected all ships and put them on aggressive. Additionally, if you research it, each ship usually has an ability that you can turn on for a limited time as well. Each type of ship has a different ability that you can use on the bottom right of the screen after clicking on it. For example, one type of ship will have increased fire rate for a limited time, but also decreased armor, so there's a pro and a con. There's a max limit to each ship that you can make, but it seemed to keep going up after a while. I usually always maxed out my ships, and I kept everything fully researched, which is pretty easy to do. I had 5 resource collectors collecting non-stop for me, and I was never out of resources. I was a little low sometimes, but never out. This game runs pretty well too, and looks really good. However, once there was a lot of ships on screen at once, especially when each side is fighting it out, my FPS would dip a lot to like 15 or 20 FPS. That's with DLSS on quality. You can probably improve that a bit by turning down the settings, but I like the way I had my game set up. I was on 4K with most settings on maximum, except 2 or 3 I had on medium. So I'm sure there's some improvements to be had there. It was mostly fine though, and I enjoyed the graphics really. This game is way easier to understand than I thought that it would be coming into this game as well. The game has a nice way of slowly integrating more and more things as you play, so I never felt overwhelmed with what to do. I really like this game. The gameplay is fun, and I think the story is good too. That's one of the main reasons I want to keep playing this game. I want to know what's going to happen next. I'd say this game is worth the money, though that's my personal opinion. Whether or not this is your type of game, I'll see you on the next one.